Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. US Special Envoy to Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, has shared details of his recent talks with the Taliban with Afghan President Ashraf Ghani and other government officials. A January 28 statement quoted Khalilzad as saying he had held talks about a possible ceasefire, but nothing was agreed upon. Khalilzad also confirmed that no agreement had been made on the withdrawal of foreign troops, adding that any such decision would be coordinated with the Afghan government. The statement comes after both the Taliban and Khalilzad said progress was made in the latest set of talks in Qatar aimed at ending the 17-year-old conflict in Afghanistan. The Western-backed government in Kabul has struggled to fend off a resurgent Taliban and other militant groups nearly 2 decades after a US-led coalition drove the Taliban from power in Afghanistan in 2001. The Taliban has so far refused to hold direct negotiations with the Afghan government officials, whom they dismiss as puppets. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze the current situation in Afghanistan. Joining me on the program today are Dilip Sinha, former ambassador, Major General Ashwini Sivach, strategic expert, Pramit Pal Chowdhury, foreign editor at the Hindustan Times. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Dilip Sinha, I'd like to begin the program with you. What do you make of the talks that were held between the Taliban and Khalilzad in Qatar?
We do not know the details of the talks. All we know is that Zalmay has gone back and briefed the Afghan government on it. There have been some statements coming out of the Taliban, but clearly no agreement has been reached. What the Taliban want is that the Americans should commit themselves to withdraw from Afghanistan so that they can move in. If this were to happen, this would be, I think, the third time that a major power, external power that has entered Afghanistan with the intention of settling and establishing stability in Afghanistan would withdraw. First, the Soviets did that in 1988 after having fought in the country and almost destroyed it for 8-9 years. Then the Americans did that with the Mujahideen when they withdrew again and left Afghanistan at the mercy of the Taliban. And now this will be the third time that the US and the other forces in the ISAF would end up withdrawing from a war which effectively they would have actually lost, because the Taliban have not committed that they are abjuring violence. They are continuing to indulge in violence. They're continuing to attack Afghan troops. They have been responsible for all the violence in the country. I think Ashraf Ghani said that in the last 5 years, 45,000 Afghan troops have been killed, which is a huge number. So the war in Afghanistan has actually been going on for much longer than just 17 years. 17 years has been with the current lot. So yes, it will be a tragedy for Afghanistan if the American troops were to withdraw, leaving the country at the mercy of the Taliban.
General, from a strategic and from a defense point of view, how would you look at these talks that were held in Qatar?
See, Frank, what is happening is that there is no denying the fact that the talks were continued for 6 days. That is a positive sign. So therefore, a lot of things have been covered. Of course, nothing has been disclosed, but it looks like that as far as these talks were concerned, they were constructive, they were fruitful. 2-3 issues which stands out. As far as Afghanistan is concerned, they are the Zalmay Khalilzad, he was insisting on 2 issues. One is the ceasefire, and the second thing is Afghan government getting involved into talks directly with Taliban. Whereas, as far as Taliban is concerned, that they were basically trying to say, please tell us the timeline as to when the US and the NATO troops will be withdrawing from Afghanistan. Rest, everything will follow thereafter. So these are the 2 sticking points which are there, which are not still been resolved. So this is one issue which is there. The issue which possibly have been slightly gone ahead was exchange of prisoner of war. And second thing is lifting of a certain ban on Taliban leader for visiting foreign countries. This has been slightly, it seems that they had agreed. Now the issue which is coming is that as far as from the military point of view concerned, that as on today, it is a resurgent Taliban which is there. It is already occupied 50% of of Afghanistan state. Also 15 million people, which is 50% of the population, is under them. And therefore, they are speaking from a platform of strength. they know that Trump is very keen to leave Afghanistan. So they are making use of this situation and trying to put pressure. Now the second issue which is coming is, as far as the Afghan government is concerned, now Afghan government is very much worried. They do not want the US to sort of negotiate with Taliban certain terms and conditions which not be favorable to them. Like that if they give some timeline of withdrawal and say in a year or above, it will create a total confusion in Afghanistan. It will go back to those 88, 89 when Soviet have gone out, and thereafter that government collapsed. Let us say that if Americans go out of Afghanistan prematurely, then it is very difficult for the present government to survive the onslaught of Taliban.
Right.
So therefore, that is very important for government. Ashraf Ghani is saying that please do not negotiate anything with Taliban which is not favorable to the condition of Afghanistan.
Sure.
So this is one issue which they have to take into consideration.
Right.
Ashraf Ghani is telling time and again that as far as Taliban is concerned, they are most welcome to come overboard and take part in political process when in case they do two things. One is that they declare ceasefire and also recognize the constitution of Afghanistan.
Sure, right. Pramit Pal Chaudhary, so, considering the fragile situation in Afghanistan, what is the significance of these talks really?
Well, as is mentioned, the driving force has been President Trump's determination to leave Afghanistan. This fits in with his overall America First strategy and his belief that America is overextended and spends too much money, particularly in the Middle East, Southwest Asia region. This is nothing new. Obama also was a strong believer that America should withdraw from Afghanistan. And this gives a window of opportunity as far as the Taliban are concerned. And it's one of the reasons from what we've read and heard is that when Zalmay Khalilzad offered an 18-month time frame for American withdrawal, the Taliban wanted it much faster because their experience has been, as happened with Obama, is that Obama kept announcing, I'm going to withdraw, and nothing would happen because the Pentagon and the American establishment would slowly slow roll the policy until the circumstances had changed or Obama didn't have really the political capital or attention to fulfill the attack, or there was evidence of, for example, Islamic State activity, which remains a major American concern. So the question really now in America is, does Trump have the ability to get a withdrawal done before the political window in Washington closes? Because there's very clear evidence that the Pentagon continues to oppose the policy. His previous Defense Secretary, Mattis, has, before he left, carefully spent the last few weeks in office trying to ensure that the American presence in Afghanistan was still stuck, if you wish, in the ground. His present Defense Secretary, Shanahan, is widely believed to lack the support of, lack credibility in the Congress and with the military services. And Trump is extremely fickle. Well, he may one day want to do something, and then he may change his mind 2 months later.
Right.
And so it's a very weak window in Washington. And there are huge forces trying very hard to ensure that Trump's policy is not actually enacted. So we'll see a troop withdrawal, but we'll not necessarily see an American withdrawal in the sense that the number of troops may reduce, but it may not be enough to go through. So the Taliban are right to try to push this as fast as possible because they rightly believe that there's not much chance, not much of a window for them to get this through.
Right.
The problem for them is that the gap between America and the Afghan government and the Taliban in terms of position, my suspicion is that there's not enough time to be able to close that gap.
Right. Dilip Sinha, that having been said, the fact of the matter is the talks have taken place and, the conflicting reports that are coming out suggesting that, maybe the talks went well. Does this mean that, both parties want long-lasting peace in Afghanistan at the end of the day?
Well, certainly the Americans would like to have peace in Afghanistan. I'm not too sure about the Taliban. The Taliban want peace only at their on their terms. But this desire that perhaps there can be some kind of accommodation reached with the Taliban is there as a streak in a number of Western countries. If you remember, way back in 2006, the British, who were in charge, whose troops were present in the Helmand province, were under pressure in Musa Qala, it was a small town there, because of Taliban attacks. And they decided after some time that they couldn't hold on. So they came to an agreement with the Taliban and agreed to withdraw their troops from Musa Qala and tell the village elders, on the understanding the village elders would keep the Taliban out. Now, the British troops withdrew from there, and for about a year and a half, Musa Qala came under the Taliban. The Taliban just moved into Musa Qala. They, of course, forgot about all the commitment that they had made not to indulge in violence. The moment they moved in, they hanged the village elders, and then they hanged all other people that they thought were spies. They shut down schools, stopped movement of women. And then it took the ISAF forces, the international forces, a huge amount of effort to regain Musa Qala. So that is the extent of the kind of trust you can place in the word of the Taliban. But the Americans certainly would like to make the government of Afghanistan as broad-based as possible. But there the point is that they must get the Taliban to agree to the constitutional process. It is not for Western countries or any other foreign country to decide who is going to rule Afghanistan. That has to come from the ballot papers of the Afghan people.
Sure.
If the Taliban do not wish to contest the elections, then they have no right to come to power on the back of either Trump or anybody else.
Absolutely. You know, peace talks have taken place in the past as well, General, and, you know, they have failed in the past, we've seen. So what's different this time around?
See, 2-3 things are very different this time. First of all, there is no denying the fact that Trump has made up his mind that he will be finally withdrawing. The timeline may be differ. Second issue is that the Taliban is also very keen that some sort of negotiation is done this time, because if the negotiations are done, then only the US and NATO troops will withdraw. Now, this is the start point. But both are suspicious of each other, because both think that he may outwit the other one. Now, as far as America is concerned, America is worried that in case any negotiation is done, what is the guarantee in case the NATO and US troops withdraw that Taliban stick to the promise done by them, and thereafter the government can fall. So therefore, prematurely withdrawing from Afghanistan can be catastrophic. So that is one issue. As far as Taliban is concerned, they are worried that time and again the timeline has been given for withdrawal of US troops and NATO troops from Afghanistan, like Obama has also given, but it has never been materialized. So therefore, both are suspicious on each other. One issue which was coming as far as Khalilzad was concerned, he time and again told that you have to give us 2-3 undertakings. Now, as far as the talks are going on, one is that you have to ensure Afghanistan soil not to be utilized by international jihadis like Islamic State and also Al-Qaeda. This promise has to be done by them. Now, that one is not sure whether they will able to abide by that or not. And second thing, what they are trying to tell is that the ceasefire has to be comprehensive. That the line which are given to it has to be followed by both the sides. The issue which is coming is, now Zalmay Khalilzad is saying that some sort of negotiation must be reached, because there are elections which are taking place in month of July as far as the president is concerned. They say if the negotiations are reached well in time, then the Taliban, if they come overboard, they recognize the constitution of Afghanistan and they declare the ceasefire, they are most welcome to contest those elections.
Right.
So that is also the point which is in the back of mind of American. Now, as far as the Taliban is concerned, the seriousness which is there is that Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, who was a co-founder of Taliban as well as a military commander who was in prison in Pakistan for 8 years, has been released, and he was participating in this talks. So they are also very serious that talks should materialize. But the point is now how things unfold. Zalmay Khalilzad said that nothing has been so far, is agreed, and until unless everything is not agreed, nothing is agreed.
Right.
So therefore, they will go very cautiously. Both sides are weighing each other and then going. That's why they were saying that joint draft will be announced, but nothing has been announced because no one is sure of each other.
Right. And Pramit, where does this leave the Afghan government really?
Well, the Afghan government obviously is in a bind. If tomorrow the Americans cut off their aid supply, in particular, the money and ammunition and weapons, the Afghan government really, its time would effectively be over, as happened with the previous Najibullah government when the Soviet Union cut off its supplies and support. So obviously they will seek to either delay the American departure, or if the Americans decide that they will strike a deal with the Taliban or they come to one, that it comes along with a very strong American commitment to keep supplying money and weapons to the Afghan government. The problem will be really is that in the closer the Taliban and the Americans come to an understanding of U.S. troop withdrawal, the weaker there will be among a lot of the fence-sitting groups in Kabul and elsewhere to continue to be supportive of the Kabul government. They'll assume, therefore, that the clock is ticking here, and why, therefore, should I put my support behind the Afghan government? I would expect to see a large number of desertions or greater desertions in the Afghan National Army. A lot of local leaders and warlords and so on would immediately begin to withdraw their support or begin talking directly to the Taliban. So any U.S. troop withdrawal, no matter what happens or in whatever framework it is done, would probably begin to reduce the credibility and the coherence of the Kabul regime.
Absolutely. And Dilip Sinha, what are some of the contentious issues really that need ironing out in the days to come?
Conditions in what sense? For the Taliban, for the Americans?
For all the players, there are so many players there, what really needs to be addressed first so as to ensure we see long-lasting peace in Afghanistan, because that's what we are interested in really.
Yes, what the Americans are hoping is that if they get the Taliban on board and get them to join the government in a peaceful manner, then they will be able to keep the other slightly worse devils, that is the Islamic State and the Al-Qaeda, out of Afghanistan. Now, that is a fond hope.
But with the US withdrawing from Afghanistan, won't it be a free-for-all?
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, that it's a fond hope of the Americans that once they withdraw, the Taliban will keep their promise of not allowing the Al-Qaeda to come in. Remember, the invasion of Afghanistan took place because of the Al-Qaeda, not because of the Taliban. So, and with the Taliban, the Americans are prepared to live with them, provided the Al-Qaeda and the ISIS don't come into Afghanistan. Because they regard the Taliban as essentially an Afghan-centric movement. They might be anti-women and anti-education, but they don't have a global view. They don't have a view of spreading jihad all over the world, the way Al-Qaeda has, or the Islamic State has. So from the American point of view, a localized state of the Taliban in Afghanistan will hurt some people in Afghanistan, but that they can live with that. But not with the Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State coming in.
Sure. And General, how important is it to have a peaceful Afghanistan so as to ensure stability and peace in the region itself?
Very important. In fact, Afghanistan to be a peaceful is a requirement of the day for South Asia and world over. Because see, it lies in a place that Central Asian states are there on the north of it, and toward the east is the Pakistan, and toward the west are the Gulf countries. Now, if Afghanistan remains an area of disturb, then it will create, first of all, there is a danger of not only Taliban coming into power, it is also Al-Qaeda and also Islamic State coming. And it flowing toward Kashmir is very much possible. That is point number one, which we have to be very careful. And the second thing is that we have known that experience from 1996 to 2001, when Taliban was governing Afghanistan, they went 50 years behind. What was happening is they were following the Sharia law, and execution and amputation was a part of the day. The women were not allowed in public life. Democracy was not there. The freedom of press was curbed. So there is a danger of this in case Taliban comes and Al-Qaeda and Islamic State all come. So this, they will again follow the Sharia law. So that will create a disturbance in the whole area. Now, for us, it makes a lot of difference as far as India is concerned, because we have just taken over Charbar, and we are trying to, through Charbar, going to Afghanistan and Central Asian states. For us to have a stable Afghanistan is very important. We have hugely invested in infrastructure and capacity building. We have also utilized almost $3 billion, one of the highest regional donors there after America. So therefore, for us also, Afghanistan must remain stable. If there is Afghanistan which is under turmoil, will have implication all over South Asia as well as world over.
Right. You know, Pramit, that having been said, clearly, like the General has just pointed out, there's a lot at stake for India really as far as Afghanistan is concerned. So how should we proceed?
Well, I would argue that we may wish the Taliban and US talks to fail and the present status quo more or less to continue. Obviously, we can't actively support such a position, but that would be, and I think what we would be fundamentally, our policy would be to support the Kabul government as much as possible, because even during the process of the talks, even if they were to fail later, even if they were to continue, however, 1 year, it would undermine the confidence of the Kabul regime. And it'll be very important, I think, as much as we can, to try to keep that confidence up. Because even, as I've said, the process of talking will strengthen the hand of the Taliban on the ground. And that's something we should try to work and mitigate against as much as we can. But other than that, I don't think there's very much we can do, and I think we should be making it clear to the Americans that we at least have no problems with their presence there. And besides what the General has mentioned, you have to keep in mind that one thing that the present unrest in Afghanistan and the maintenance of an independent Kabul regime has meant is that it bogs down Pakistan.
Right.
I mean, there is a direct link, if you wish, to the presence of a Taliban or a pro-Pakistani regime in Afghanistan and the problems that we have faced in the past in Kashmir and elsewhere.
Sure.
The more Pakistan is worried about a two-front policy or containment between India and Afghanistan, the less willing they are to provoke us or give us trouble.
Right. Closing comments now from all my guests, starting first with you, Dilip Sinha. You know, Pramit seems to suggest that there's nothing much that India can do really in Afghanistan, but do we have some kind of a leverage there?
I think we do, in the sense that it's a soft leverage that we have. Our image in Afghanistan today is great. We have made a huge comeback in Afghanistan. The Afghan people are our greatest allies over there. So we should use that, and we should promote this idea from the expat population of the Afghans, as well as the new generation that has grown up in Afghanistan in the last 17 years, to try and impress upon the Western countries that this is the new Afghanistan in which the Taliban are out of date. They should not be allowed to come in. And if they come in, then they must come in on the terms of the Afghan constitution. And this message should go out from the Afghan people themselves to the Western governments. And this, I think, we can certainly use our soft power there to try and persuade them, because their future, while we will suffer, but they'll suffer the most over there.
Right.
The entire new Kabul will get destroyed if the Taliban come in. So that is something that we should be able to use, and use that as an influence on the Western governments.
General, what's the best way forward for India?
As far as India is concerned, India will like that the Americans and NATO troops can stay as long as feasible. Because the moment they withdraw, our problem starts. Because we have hugely invested in Afghanistan, both infrastructure, capacity building, and also soft power. And therefore, the issue which is coming is, there is a big dilemma as far as India is concerned. How do they go about it? Now, there is no the solution to it. Now, in case if Taliban comes tomorrow in some or the other form, as to if Taliban is not to come, then why Americans are having direct talks with Taliban? And therefore, it looks like that Taliban will have some sort of role in the government which will come in future in Afghanistan. So therefore, India must be vigilant and alert. That somehow, however, whether backdoor diplomacy and all should remain relevant. In case there is a change of government which is there, in case the American withdraw finally, say in 1.5 years or 2 years, that whatever government comes that time, that we should have some sort of relation with them, whatever is the government, because investment is very huge. We cannot be saying that in case the present government stays there, we are there, and in case the Taliban come to in some or the other form, then we reach to a dead end. That
Right.
will not be correct, because our investment is huge and our options are limited. So we should be trading our path very cautiously and try our all means to pressurize America not to withdraw so fast, and also to pressurize America to ensure that the interest of India is safeguarded in Afghanistan, because if India stays there, the Afghanistan is stable.
All right. Let's not forget, Pramit, that there are other players in the region as well. So, quick closing comment on what's at stake for them as well.
Well, I think the country that we will probably have to work more, if the Taliban were to come to power in some variety in Kabul, would be Iran, who have their concerns about the Taliban. They've had a very difficult relationship with them. Unfortunately, Russia, I think, increasingly aligns itself with China and Pakistan on the Afghan issue in particular. But curious enough, China is a country that is very focused on stability overall. They are very nervous about Islamic terrorism. They have that problem at their residence in their own country. And they have tried to position themselves as a neutral broker in Afghanistan. And curiously enough, I would argue that if Pakistan decides to convert or try to convert Afghanistan into a terror base again, the country that would probably be most disturbed and one country would possibly work with is China.
All right. All right. On that note, then, we'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's it on this edition. See you again next time.